Hello and welcome to the Bonsai Garden. And since it's the beginning of spring and the garden's looking particularly lush, I thought I'd give you a quick whistle-stop tour around the garden and show you how things are getting on. There are some exciting things happening around the garden, so I'd like to share those with you. This tree is a new Satsuki azalea that I bought from Greenwood Bonsai this week. And you can see that that's just beginning to come into flower now. Now the weather is warming up, the fish are a bit more active in the pond. And you can see everything is looking quite lush and green. The Japanese maples are all now flushing out into leaf. My Katsura was the first to flush out, and now this orange dream. And you can see that the beautiful blossom is beginning to emerge on my crabapple tree. This really is a joyous time of year. It's a time to really appreciate the beauty of your bonsai trees. Here you can see the tiny exposed root crabapple that I got from Shocker Bonsai, and that is now beginning to leaf out. My Chinese elm are also now in leaf. Even the cork bark Chinese elm are now leafing out. And I find that generally my cork bark Chinese elm lose all their leaves over winter, but the regular Chinese elm don't. They keep their leaves, they just sort of bronze off. The larch trees in the garden, both are European larch and Japanese larch, and those have all now leafed out. I have noticed for the first time in my garden that I do have some tiny cones forming on some of these. So just in here, this is the only cone on the larger of my larch trees, but one of the smaller trees has got several cones emerging around it. My tridents have all happily made it through the winter months and now leafing out, which is good news. You can see a couple more of those here. I was particularly concerned that this one might not make it because there wasn't an awful lot of root on it when I removed it from the parent tree. Fortunately, that seems to be alive, and I just need to now nurture it through the next couple of months to make sure it develops sufficient root to keep it going. Got more Japanese maples here, a combination of garden trees and an orange dream in a pot. And some of the Mame trees here. And several of the maples as well, which I planted up last year. And some of these seedlings have got wire on them just to give them a bit of shape as they emerge out. This is the other larch. It's got a number of cones forming on there. Beautiful little things. And larch do make a great bonsai subject, with lots of interest all year round. You can see here my Yamamomiji mountain maple and the larger of my Chinese elms. And this had leaves all the way through winter. The large silver birch that I was given by Tony Higginson is now coming into leaf. It's actually quite windy out in the garden today. While several of my Japanese maples have come into leaf already, the Dashurjas I have here are a little bit slower, but I'm quite happy that these are healthy and going to develop nicely. This one is sat in its new pot from Walsall Studio Ceramics, and I'm going to be quite excited to see that develop and put on a bit of new growth and grow into that new pot. And I think the striking colours of the leaves are going to contrast with the colours of the pot quite nicely. And just in front of that is my Korean hornbeam, just now leafing out. And spring really is such a vibrant, exciting time in the garden, as all the new foliage emerges in its vibrant, lively colours, and it's definitely a time you need to spend outside with your trees and just appreciate their beauty. You can see a Dashurja here in my growing bed, and you'll find that trees planted in the ground will often leaf out quicker or sooner than trees which are in a more restricted environment of a pot. Here's my butterfly maple forest in the background, and the Atra purpureum forest, which I repotted in a recent video. My pines are all here on what I call Pine Alley, and they've all successfully made it through the winter. This particular white pine looks like it's bronzing a little. I hope that's not cause for concern, but if anybody's got any suggestions or thoughts on that, please leave something in the comments. You can see my black pine here has got candles developing and extending out on there. It's growing quite healthily, and in fact I have already been feeding these, the intention being to get as much growth into there as early as possible. Black pines, as we know, are supposed to be a double flush tree, although that's not necessarily the case in the UK environment. My thought is that by feeding those early and giving it the energy and that push to hopefully give it 2 spurts of growth and that second flush later in the year. This black pine is in development, and I'm letting this grow out as a sacrifice branch, just help thicken up the rest of the tree. My Chinese quince here is in flower. And at the back here behind this white pine is a red pine in development. And you can see that that's got candles developing on there too. My Dawn redwood here is beginning to leaf out, and you see it's got these compound leaves. So all of that is just one leaf. And this is my silver birch sumo tree. It was the very first of my trees to actually lose leaves last year. So I was a little bit concerned until I saw it come out into leaf. So that's a quick tour of the garden as it stands at the moment at the beginning of April. So how are your gardens looking at the moment? Leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.